What's up, everybody?
See if we can find Big Jimmy.
Where in the world is Jimmy Mackin?
I found him.
There he
Here we
is.
go. There he is.
Wait, let's promote him to panelist.
Hey, Michael.
Oh, Mike Rennick. What's up, Mike? Long time no see.
All right. Hey, fellas.
What's up, Jimmy?
Here he is.
Hey, it's good to be here. Listen, I know we got a ton of people registered for today's session, and we have a lot of ground to cover, and we don't have that much time to cover it. But I wanted to kick things off and just set the stage, and then before I pass the mic to Tim and Ryan here to kind of go deep, I just want to explain why we're doing this because I think it's important everyone kind of understands what the sort of goal is for today. But I saw something recently, fellas, that really stood out to me, which was the number of people using ChatGPT has gone from like 100 million active users now to somewhere in the ballpark, I think of probably 500 million in record time. And what's so fascinating is that the way in which, and I'm actually curious in the chat, let us know, uh, are you are you using ChatGPT more than Google today? Just let us know, yes or no in the chat. What I have found from my own behavior is that my own behavior has shifted where now I am literally using this thing probably 9 out of 10 times versus using Google. And obviously, it's got Google pretty. And again, ChatGPT, insert Perplexity, insert Grok, insert whatever Claude, whatever one you're using right now. But you can just see what I think is so interesting. Before we dive into today's session, you can see that if you would ask the average person 12 months ago, 24 months ago, hey, can you envision a world where you're not using Google? They'd be like, that's that's unfathomable at that point, and how quickly it shifted. So, on that note, for those of you who are tuning in, I'm Jimmy Mackin. I am hosting, and I invited these guys on to speak to my community because they have such an incredibly important topic that I think if you're on today's webinar right now, you are going to be on the bleeding edge of today's session. And I wanted to you guys know me. I wanted to figure out a way where I could help my community, my audience, generate more business without having to pay, the profit crushing referral tax that they have to pay when they have to, go out there and buy leads from, some of these other big portal sites. So on that note, Tim, I'll pass the mic to you, man, if you want to kind of set the stage here.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Jimmy, and thanks for having us. And so, today, what I'm going to do first before we get going, Ryan, let me set you up here for some slide control. All right. So, yeah, Jimmy hit the nail on the head here. Search behavior's changed. People aren't using Google the same way or as much. And we got all the stats in here. We'll share those things. But before we, really get going, why don't we just explain who we are? Who's Tim? Who's Ryan? So Tim Harvey, co-founder of FlyDragon. Before I founded FlyDragon, I was working as Curator's chief operating officer for 7 or 8 years at that point. And if you're not familiar with, I'm sure you are because you're here with Jimmy Mackin, but if you're not familiar with Curator helps listing agents get more listings. So I've done everything under the sun with respect to websites, to email marketing, to generating. I think we generated like 400,000 leads via Google and Facebook over the years. GMB, I mean, you name it, we were doing it there. And then Ryan, the way I met Ryan a few years back is when we wanted to get our SEO right. I scoured the earth. I'm like, go find me the best SEO I can find. Happened to be Ryan in the UK to bring our traffic to new levels. Took about 9 months, and it was incredible work. And so, Ryan, a little bit about his background. He's been doing SEO more than a decade. He's helped his clients generate more than, what is it, Ryan? 100 million? Some
About
super
100 million now. Yeah.
stupid number.
Yeah. Just a small number. Just a small
Yeah.
number.
All via
Yeah.
SEO. All via SEO. And so we saw something coming over the last couple of years, and that's why we're here. And that's why we co-founded FlyDragon. So, looking back, the old way with SEO, right? Most real estate agents, and please drop in the chat if you're one of these agents who invest in SEO, but most of you don't. Most of you never have invested in SEO. And the number one reason, it just comes down to the cost. It's expensive. I should say it used to be expensive. Very cost prohibitive to hire writers or pay writers to write really good content that Google wants to serve, wants to put that in front of people searching for it. And so most agents have ignored it. And we're all probably in the same mastermind groups. I'm seeing the questions. What is the best lead source I've got to turn on? Hey, business is down. What lead source should I be looking at? I never see agents recommending website. That's never one of them. You all have one. You probably have two, right? Every agent has that asset. And so Ryan and I, at the end of last year, we had this prediction. We said, I bet if we analyze websites, we're going to see very little website traffic. And the reality was, it was way worse than we thought. There's an industry problem where more than half of real estate websites, and we've analyzed more than 20,000 of them, have zero organic traffic. Huge problem. But those agents who invest in SEO are killing it. Like, I know an agent up in Calgary who generates 2,000 organic leads a month, and that's not an exaggeration. He's been investing in SEO for years and years and years. So you may feel like you've missed the boat. Well, now enter AI, enter ChatGPT and all the other large language models. You have this opportunity, a new opportunity. So we had this light bulb moment at the beginning of the year where we can leverage AI to write content, I'll argue, better than a human, but it's at least as good as a human, but it's a fraction of the cost. The bar, guys, the barrier to entry for SEO or AI search has never been lower, thanks to AI. And so the new way, as we move into the summer months here in 2025, hyper local content generated with AI will not only get you on the first page of Google, it'll get you in the AI search results. And we're going to show you exactly what we mean by that here today. So before we dive into it, we need a favor. If you use chat, I see a lot of you do. So for those of you who are using chat today, type this in, pull out your phones or a browser tab, and I want you to ask this question. Can you tell me who the best real estate agent is in whatever market you're in, who can sell my home, whether single family or condo, for whatever price point, let's say is an average price in your market. So who are the best agents in my market who can sell my home for 500,000, let's say, as an example. And we're going to come back to it. I want to give everybody a minute to type that. And while we're waiting for you to go through that little exercise, here's our promise for today. Here's what we're going to cover. So number one, show you how to get your brand to appear in AI search. Number two, how to connect with buyers and sellers using, we say ChatGPT, but like Jimmy said, all of the large language models. And number three, we're going to give you the framework. We're going to give that away today. We're going to show you how to get your brand to appear in the search results. So let's take a look at the chat. Well, actually drop in the chat. If your name did not appear, type a no. If you did that search and you did not appear, type a no in the chat for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of no's there, Tim. Andrew Himes, number one. Way to flex, Andrew Himes.
Of course.
It's funny, as I did that search, I found the number one agent. So first up, a couple things here. I saw the number one agent in my market is Susan Tillery. And the irony is, I know who that agent is. That agent is an agent who's in our area, who is kind of known as the Auburn agent. I have no idea who number two is, no idea who number three is. But what was actually interesting about the result of that is it actually began to think about looking at their past sales experience, not just their reviews, looking at sort of their history in terms of, are they selling homes that are of my price range? So it was doing analysis that was beyond just who has the most reviews. Mm-hmm. And I think my advice for everyone who's tuning in right now, there's this sort of like this window of opportunity, which is why I wanted Tim and Ryan to come on and share some insight with us here today. There's a window of opportunity where I think many of you right now probably can relate to this. You maybe live in a market where some other agent or some other team got a jump on Google reviews, and they now have 200, 300, 400 reviews. And there's no way, no matter how good you are, there's no way for you to catch up to them. And I think, frankly, I'm actually curious if you guys can relate to this. Let me know in the chat right now. But I think that's just totally demoralizing for a lot of agents who are like, hey, listen, it's 2024 or 25. I want to be big on Google, but the top 5 results all have over 500 reviews. Yeah. So what is me getting 25 reviews actually going to do for my business? Mm-hmm. So I think it's just sort of this interesting moment in time, this window, if you will, where we're seeing that's beginning to shift from, call it a reviews-based decision, to a recommendation based decision. And look at Sherry saying the number 3 only has 1 review. Sherry, what market are you in? Let's get more. Let's get you. You better be number 1, Sherry.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You've teed it up perfectly for Jimmy for me, because we're gonna, if you feel demoralized, like, hey, I don't have that type of experience, I haven't done $1 billion in sales, I'm gonna show you. I'm a licensed real estate agent. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna dispel that myth. It's possible. All right, so Ryan, why don't we give them the framework? I think that's why they're here.
I think that's fair.
All right.
I think it is. I feel like looking at the chat, everybody wants the framework. Everybody wants to appear in ChatGPT, and we're going to do exactly that. So what we're going to do is kind of break this down into kind of 3 steps, 3 secrets. We've done all of the research, we've done all of the homework, and we're just going to give you everything that we've learned over the last 6 to 12 months. So secret number 1, if I can change the screen, I think, Tim, you need to give me permission still.
You've got them. But I can drive. It's not working for you.
You drive. Cool. So secret number 1. If you drive the screen for me, we can do that. So AI looks for the same thing on every agent's website. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So if we look at traditional SEO, and you've all probably heard about it, you've heard about the tactics, what it does. Even Jimmy just kind of spoke towards it, like it's review based, it's content based, it's link based, and to be honest, it's budget based. So if we break to the next slide, I'll kind of give you the big differences between traditional results and ChatGPT results. So if I search for the best realtor in Miami, a decade of experience in SEO doesn't really help me here, because I need big budgets to compete in a market where, the search results are so high that people are just paying to appear above organic results. That is not the same thing for ChatGPT right now. And Jimmy said it best. Right now is the opportunity of a lifetime. The market has shifted in favor disproportionately toward local businesses. And we just, like Tim said earlier, we saw the opportunity. We knew agents could capitalize on it. So we had to figure this thing out. And this is how we did it. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk about it. So $1,800 of our own money, and 3 months later, and the painstaking task of 2,000 different ChatGPT searches, we recorded everything for every search we did across the entire country. We found 3 things. Every single time the pattern emerged, it was the same 3 pages for every single agent on the exact same page on their site and the exact same structure. So if you tab through, you'll see what I mean. When it kind of jumps down, you'll see the agents pop up with, I blurred it out so I don't give away the secret. There you go. There's Mario and there's Anthony. I believe him just because of the accent. I will take that. So
Mario.
Same structure, same pages. The reason why this is so important, because the hack here is that AI is going to look for the exact same information on the exact same pages on every single agent's website. And I guarantee you right now, you have all of these pages on your site. You're just not using them in the right way. So if you jump to the next slide, Tim, I'll show you what I mean by that. So the structure, you probably have active listings. You probably do sell different types of homes. You've got different price brackets. You've got sales data that probably dates back 2, 5, 10 years. And you have a geo focus, but you're not explaining that to AI in the correct way. You're not giving it in the right way, which is what makes all of the difference. And when I say geo focus, by the way, I don't just mean your state. I don't just mean your city. I mean all of the areas, all of the suburbs that you might operate in, because ChatGPT needs to see all of it. And again, ChatGPT could be Perplexity, Grok, whichever one you use. So the pages we looked at that came up every single time, the quickest wins you could do right now are your homepage, your about page, and your buy and or sell page. So Tim, if you tab them up, Mario does it, Askovitz does it, and Alina does it. And you saw in the previous window, these guys all came up top 3. Mm-hmm. So same information, same 3 pages, 2,000 searches, no breaking consistency. And you probably think, Ryan, I ain't got time for that. Nobody's got time to go and pull this information together. Chances are you probably already have the information on your Zillow profile or somewhere else, but we don't want Zillow to have all of the traffic. They already get all of the traffic anyway. So we're going to go to Zillow right now, if you've got the profile, and you're going to take everything off of it: your team size, your recent sales history, your price range, your total sales that you've completed in the last 12 months. And all you're going to do, simple, easy, and sweet, is you're just going to move it over to your site. And if, again, Tim, if you tab to the next one, Peggy's done it. Peggy understood, and we work with the Spiker Group, who's a client of ours. Peggy took all of that information for Zillow, structured it on her site in the correct way, and on the right-hand side, you can kind of see time and time again the exact order you need to put it in: the location, your experience, your sales, price point, client feedback, which is super important, and then the profiles you appear on, which leads us on to secret number 2. Because even though Peggy is crushing it, $1 billion in sales, she's still not appearing in ChatGPT in the correct way. And Tim's going to show you why.
Yeah, let me just take a step back here, guys, for 1 second, just to clarify one thing you said here. Thanks, Tim. Is what I'm hearing you say is that the 4 most important pages, I want to recap before we move forward. The 4 most important pages are your home page, your about page, your buy page, and your sell page. And if you can go back for me, Tim, for 1 second, the previous slide, the one that has the breakdown. You're saying the information that needs to exist on those pages is the homes, the list of homes, meaning the homes you've sold, the home type, like what types of homes you sell, what price range you work within, any previous sales, and then a mention of the area in which you focus. So if you go back to Peggy's profile there, a few slides in advance, what I'm hearing you say is once you've got, keep going to the next one, Tim, the one where you see the Peggy Lynn's breakdown. Thank you. That information, location, experience, sales, average price point, client feedback, that information you're saying that should be absolutely consistent across your home and your about and your buy and your sell. And just so I'm clear, why is that the case? Why do you think, after doing all this research, why do you think AI is looking at that information to be able to render results?
Because it needs consistency, and it needs, if you were to kind of categorize the word best, it usually comes down to experience, reviews, and where you are the best in said area. And it can't just exist in one place, because that doesn't really validate the fact that you are the best. It needs to be like in this voting system. You need to appear with the same information in as many places as possible to kind of validate that fact, and make it super easy for ChatGPT to kind of validate that is true.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think, a theme. Would we be sort of wrong to assume, Ryan, that the benefits of doing that for AI also benefit SEO in general? Meaning making it easy for the search engines to find you is also making it easy for AI to sort of identify who you are and what you do and recommend you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly the same thought process, exactly the same kind of approach. The benefit being now is that ChatGPT is much, much, much quicker.
Okay. Now in the chat, drop a link to your website right now, because we'll do a quick audit, and we'll say this maybe toward the end, Tim, to see if people have this on their website. You can go to your about page if you want to do your about page, or your homepage is fine too. But we'll take a look at some of the websites here in a second. Yeah. All right, back to you, Tim.
Somebody did call out. It looks like they're pulling from Fast Expert, which you can see here, and we're going to get into this. I'm glad your eye caught this. It matters who is being cited in the sources. In this case, we notice this a lot. That Fast Expert right now and Rate My Agent, they're like the top sources when you query something similar to this. So if you're not on Fast Expert or you're not on Rate My Agent, have a profile, because it's always subject to change, right? Maybe the algorithms change, right? The next model comes out and Fast Expert's being used less, and maybe Zillow gets used more then. But today I'm noticing Fast Expert almost all the time being cited.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So the secret number 2, your brand needs to be inside the ChatGPT ecosystem. Terrifying here, Jimmy. Terrifying sentence, but I'm stealing your leads. Tim Harvey is stealing your leads. And here's what I mean by that. And I saw a couple comments about experience as well. Okay, this is legit. So just so you know, I'm not making this up. I am a licensed real estate agent. Here's my experience. So for anybody who dropped in the chat earlier, I saw a couple of you say, what if I don't have this, the Spiker Group-esque experience? You probably have more experience than me. So I've sold one home, a 2-family I owned that Jimmy knows all about. And then I helped my aunt just a month ago buy a house here in Massachusetts. This is my experience. Compare that to Peggy Lynn, who we adore, 257 sales in the last year, 2,100 total sales, over 1 billion sales. Like clearly not the same caliber of agent. That said,
Mm-hmm.
that said, so I type in the search. Okay. My question today was, what are the top reasons to live in Upton, Massachusetts? This is where I live. I live in Upton, Mass. And so it gives me the results. Okay. Excellent public schools. It's citing Upton, Mass's website. That makes sense. It's a good source. And then if I go to the bottom, the sources being cited in this particular query, we've got niche.com, very popular site, Upton's own website, a Reddit thread, which is very common as well. And then there's only one real estate business in the sources here, and that's me. That's 2 pages on my website, 2 different informational articles that I wrote. And so I do not have the caliber. I'm probably the second least experienced real estate agent on the call, with the exception to Ryan D, because he doesn't have a license, right? But I'm showing you I'm here. But then if I look at Peggy Lynn, and the search for this case was, I try to get really specific. Like I'm basically saying, feed me the Spiker Group. I need a real estate agent in Gaithersburg, Maryland. That's where their office address is. That can help me sell my home. I want a top
Mm-hmm.
agent or a team that has sold at least or sells at least 200 homes per year. That narrows that down. And if we look at the results, we got Darren, we have Andy, Nathan Dart, Alta Group, but not the Spiker Group. And if you look at the sources being cited, we've got Fast Expert, Zillow, Flickr, Real Trends, Housing Wire, right? So the reality here, you just because you have experience, right, a tremendous amount of experience, and maybe you're even dominating on Google today, Google, organic search results, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be dominating ChatGPT or any of the large language models searches. And there are a few different reasons why in the case of the Spiker Group, and this is why we just started working with them. We want to help fix this problem. Clearly, they should be on this list. And part of it has to do with name, address, and NAP. If you're familiar with name, address, and phone number, that needs to be consistent across the web. They might not have a Fast Expert profile. That would be another missed opportunity. And so, again, Fast Expert is in the results almost 100% of the time, at least for today. So if you don't have a profile, go set up a free profile, make sure all that pertinent information is there, and you'll have a fighting chance of ranking here in chat.
Yeah. I'm actually curious. We can maybe do a poll right now. I have, in the last year, I've been to 50 different cities, spoken in front of probably over 100,000 agents at this point, and had the opportunity to see a ton of people speak and present on SEO, on chat, on ranking, on reviews. I actually do not recall anybody recommending to go and create a profile on Fast Expert. So the fact that Fast Expert, for whatever reason, has got some cheat code where now AI is referencing them, that might be a very sort of like a little bit of a hidden gem here as part of today's training, is recognizing that, like, these secondary sites we all are familiar with Google and Zillow, but these secondary sites like Fast Experts could actually be a treasure trove of opportunity based on the fact that AI is using it so extensively and returning its results. So actually in the chat, let us know if you're using Fast Expert, because I can't, for most agents I know, like, yeah, see, Fast Expert syncs with Zillow. I didn't even know that, Raphael. That's good information. Cool.
Wait.
Awesome. So to figure out how Tim was stealing people's leads and why the bigger agents in certain areas just weren't appearing in ChatGPT, we had to reverse engineer it. And I'm glad in the last kind of live demo of that chat result, Reddit appeared, local press appeared, and obviously Tim's website appeared. So there is an ecosystem to this. The reason why this happens, and it's the same thing for Google, ChatGPT will have a list of sites that it will always go to time and time and time and time again for the real estate industry. And we have that exact list. We have the 50 sites that ChatGPT goes and references for every single query. But what I'm going to do instead is kind of just give you a bit of something to think about. So Tim, if you just tab real quick and you'll see what I mean by this. As you start to look through the ecosystem, you start to notice that not only are these guys killing it in their local community, but they're starting to participate in local communities online, Reddit threads, Quora threads. But how often do they need to do it? You're busy people. Do you need to be in there 10 hours a day? The answer is no, you don't need to do that. We've got the exact sites you need and how often you need to be on them. So if you jump to the next slide. I'll give you that framework right now. So these are the sites that AI loves the most. And we also have 35 other sites or 40 sites that you need to appear on. But these are the key ones. So you need to appear in at least 10 different Reddit answers, 7 Quora answers, and then 3 to 5 local press, local community pages. The rest of them, they're single pages. Make sure you have them. Your Fast Agent, Rate My Agent, Yelp profile. And it's really important if you have Google My Business profiles too. You definitely need everything to kind of tie it all together. And to prove this works so effectively, Paul is a new client of ours, 30 days or less. We tidied up a bunch of the on-page stuff. We've done the kind of the initial piece. We figured out the about page. And within 30 days, Paul was being pulled into the AI overviews in Google. So not only does this work in ChatGPT, but because we want the two to blend together so you get more clicks, Paul is up there with Forbes, and it took him less than 30 days. Forbes is a multi-billion-dollar company, and Paul did it in less than a month. So that's the power of this stuff.
Let me just stop real quick, just because I think that this is so insanely important. Because I actually, I think I framed this the wrong way, which is I asked at the beginning of today's session, I said, how many of you are using ChatGPT versus using Google? And what I think is undeniable at this point. And I believe we all, meaning all of us on this call, are going to agree to this statement, which is Google is going to look a lot more like ChatGPT in the next 6 months than ChatGPT is going to look like Google, which is Google still controls the vast majority of searches. That's not going to change over the next 12 months, even though ChatGPT is growing rapidly. But I think we all can agree that the next time we go into Google in 3 months, we're not going to see 10 blue links. Rather, we're going to see recommendations or these AI overviews from Gemini because they have to adapt to what's happening now. And they're not stupid people. They're in fact the people who actually figured out how AI works, right? And their famous paper, they just didn't implement it. So they're a little slow to the game here, but they I think are so well positioned to take advantage of this. So what I'm taking away from this right now is that if you look at the search results, because I'm seeing the screen here, Ryan, if you look at the search results today and type of best realtor in Auburn, New Hampshire, you get the traditional look. But what I think you're going to begin to see is you're going to see the AI answer for those really powerful, really important searches before you see the advertising. And if that is the case, then everything that we're talking about right now is 10 times more important to do, given the fact that you have a chance to jump in the rankings. Because guess what people don't do on Google is they don't really scroll, especially past page 2. So Ryan, just recap for this real quick as we're looking at this. You're saying, just so I'm clear and that we are all clear on today's call, you're saying in order to ensure that your website, your brand shows up within the recommendations from AI, specifically ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and all the other ones, you're saying these are the places you need to engage, and these are the places you need to make sure you have your profile on, using the earlier step that you gave earlier around giving it the content, such as the area, the sales data, the reviews, things of that nature. Am I characterizing that properly?
Exactly. Yeah, you've absolutely crushed it. That is exactly the way to do it. And there are other sites, there's a much bigger list, but these are the key ones. These are definitely the key ones. They're referenced more times in chat and for Google, more than any other site for local businesses for real estate. This is specific to real estate.
Got it. Cool. Can we real quickly, Tim, could you just jump back to the previous slide? I want to make sure we are connecting the dots on today's training. Jump back to the slide where you have the structure. I think it's the Peggy Lynn slide where you have the side by side here. Thank you. This one. So you're saying just so we are, and you can answer that next question from Monica Ryan in the chat. Just so we're connecting the dots here, this is the structure: location, experience, sales, price point. Right? That's the structure, and you're saying these are the places.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So the only one, so it's your site. This has to appear on your site, your home, about, buy, and sell pages. And then you need to take that information, that exact same structure, and you need to put them on the kind of next few slides that we said. So the Reddits, the Quoras, your Rate My Agent, Yelp, that all needs to be consistent in as many places as possible.
Okay, I love it. Keep going, Tim.
And I saw the question come up a couple of times. Is this applicable if I'm in Canada? The answer is yes. And what I would do,
Yep.
regardless if you're in Canada or even, I'm in Upton, Massachusetts versus San Diego, California, type the searches in, just like you would be Googling yourself, type it into ChatGPT and then look at the sources. And if you see, Rate My Agent or Fast Agent, like that's where you want to be. So Canada, maybe it's a little bit different. You won't see Zillow in the results. Certainly won't see it anyway. But wherever
Yeah.
wherever you're seeing those sources, you want to be on those sources.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Cool. All right.
Oh, one more
And
thing
just
on this slide, Ryan, because the question
Yep.
come up. But how do you get your business featured in press, or how do you get it, in a Reddit answer?
So the Reddit answer is really simple. So go to Reddit right now, and you can type in the search bar any subreddit for your area. Let's just call it Gatlinburg. So we did this for one of our other clients, Caitlin, and there's people in there asking, who is the best person to speak to? I want to sell my home. I want to buy a home in this area, and people were recommending agents that they had worked with. So we made sure Caitlin was a part of that conversation. So it's as simple as that on Reddit. If you want to get featured in local press, the best thing you can do is have something press worthy, something to talk about. It could be market data that you've got. It could be a new listing that you've got, which is like an old celebrity home. Anything that's going to get that paper traffic and clicks is going to allow you to get featured in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do another session sometime in the near future on getting additional press locally. But these individuals who run these smaller local newspapers and local online communities are so desperate for content that
Yep.
the very short hack is make it easy for them to look good. I mean, that's
Yes.
it, right? Make it
Yeah.
make it easy for them to look good. So what can you do to make it easy for them to look good? And everyone knows in press, it's got to be new, noteworthy, original, different, first time. These are things that drive people's behavior as it relates to writing these articles.
Yeah.
You mentioned 35 other sites. Where can they get the access to all 35 sites?
If you're happy to afterwards, we can share the list. So if people on that list, let me know in the chat, and we can share it afterwards.
Yeah, and we get
Yeah,
the
that'd be
recording
great.
in the deck as well. I know that question's come up. So this is being recorded. We'll circulate this along with the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. So that's number two here on the list, correct? Am I tracking?
Yep.
Okay. So
Exactly.
number three.
Yep. So before we get to number three, I just want to just call this out because I think it's really, really important, because the more conversations I have, the more I realize that Zillow continues to be, the biggest hurdle, at least mentally. So out of the 2,000 searches we did in ChatGPT, Zillow was never, ever recommended as a source in the sense of go click here, go and engage with this agent. It was either Fast Expert or the agent's website. That is currently not an opportunity you can do right now in Google. Zillow owns the vast majority of, homes for sale in X. So that, just to keep that in mind, right now, this is the golden opportunity before, in let's just call it 3 years, the big players start to infiltrate these engines.
Why
And
do you
just to
think
kind
that's
of
the case? Like, why do you think that Zillow is, because right now that's probably the number one reason why people have maybe not invested in SEO, because they figure the game's already lost.
yeah.
Why do you believe that Zillow is not showing up in the recommendations or the results from these prompts that people are using with Perplexity or Grok or OpenAI?
I think there's probably two elements to this. One, they understand that small businesses are being, kind of mistreated on Google, and the ecosystem is not attracting small businesses unless they pay to play. And two, people are searching in a much more specific way that Zillow just doesn't become relevant anymore. So they're not looking just for homes for sale in Miami. They're looking for homes for sale in Miami with a pool near a beach and somebody that
Mm-hmm.
has, 10 years of experience to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. Okay, so just the level of specificity with the searches are driving the vast majority of sort of these other sources, which makes sense. Cool.
And
All right.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
Jimmy, it always
Yeah, go
could
ahead, Dan.
change, right? It could change in a month, could change in a week, could be a year. But I think just like you'd be staying on top of it with SEO, every so often do another search, like look for yourself. And if you're not appearing, what sources are. hey, there's probably a new one on the scene in a few months from now. I know they're Rate My Agent. So I think
Yeah.
it will always be evolving with the next model that comes out. So just be mindful that it's subject to change.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a
Yep.
question someone asked earlier in the chat. Did you say take my profile off of Zillow? I don't think these guys said that. I would certainly not
No.
advise you to do that. Uh, just to be clear there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take the
No.
information from Zillow and transpose that onto the website.
Thanks for the clarification. Cool. All right, number three,
Awesome.
fellas.
Yeah, we'll jump. We'll skip past this, but this is a great example of the right content. Caitlin is a very small real estate agent in Gatlinburg. She one conversation, she was referenced 6 different times. So that's 6 times the opportunity to drive traffic in ChatGPT versus a Google search.
Hmm.
And now we're going to break down how you can do this with the content framework that we use for ChatGPT. So the reason why we built a different framework for ChatGPT is because people don't use ChatGPT like they use Google. We've kind of proven that for the last, couple of slides. If we think about how we use Google, and by the way, this is one of our clients, we ranked him again in the AI overviews, and he is also the #1 position in Google. So we get the benefit of both clicks. But if we think about the behavior, and Tim, you can kind of tab through, but it's jumping in, they do research, they get the wrong answer, they do more research, then they click the site, and then they get the answer they're looking for. With ChatGPT, it's much more specific. They're answering a specific question, and then they let
Hmm.
chat do the research. They do all the hard work. And
Hmm.
that is the big difference in the ecosystem, because all of the sources are returned in one conversation. But the big goal, more than anything, I hope this is the one that stands out more than anything I say today, is to rank in both. There is no point doing Google by itself, and there's no point doing ChatGPT by itself. Combined, the traffic and the leads would be insane.
Hmm.
So that is the
Yeah,
big call out for them.
and I think what's interesting here as it relates to this concept around how search is evolving. I want everyone to know who's on today's call. This is like it's 2013, and we're telling you, Google, you should put your reviews on
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah.
Um, it's, there is no question that we're a little early on this. There's
Hmm.
no question that we're a little early on this. I mean, it's not going to have a massive impact on your business tomorrow. However, I think in today's world, I am just so bullish on the idea of making the investments in your businesses that are going to ensure that you are competitive now and in the future. And so that group of searches is really starting to accelerate quite significantly. So I want to make sure everyone's in the best position to basically say, like, I want to be, if I plan on selling real estate in 12 months, I want to be investing my business in the right way where I can be competitive, where I can win. All right.
Yeah.
So what else do you guys want to cover today? I know we covered a lot of ground here as it relates to the structure, the different sources. What else do you think would be relevant for everyone who wants to take more advantage of AI for their business?
The big one is something that they can control. Something that, if you've got a website, you can make this step super easy and you can do it today. There's no need to go out and find different websites because you already own the asset. And the big thing to call out is that leads come from specific needs, right? If you think about somebody using ChatGPT and they type in, hey, I need a realtor in Miami, chances are they're a pretty cold lead. If they then
Hmm.
said to find a 2-bed condo, they're warming up a little bit. But the specificity is the gem here, because people are going to search things like between this price with beachfront views. And what that allows us to have created is what we call the chat intent matrix. So if you flag this up just beneath that, Tim. So if somebody searches just for the location, they're a cold lead. If somebody's searching for the location and a property type, they're probably warming up, but they're still doing a ton of research. If they
Hmm.
talk about the price bracket or their band and the features of the property, this is a high intent buyer or seller, and they are desperate to make a decision then and there. And that is the power of the content strategy that we're going to kind of talk you through in a second. But before I get to that, Jimmy, you've spoken to it just now, so this is the perfect segue. Is I don't think maybe it's not quite sunk in yet, but this is the size of the market for real estate specifically on ChatGPT. So if you jump to the next slide, Tim, I'll walk through these stats. So 60% of every adult in the United States, so 18 plus, is using ChatGPT for something real estate specific. Now, that could be finding a better mortgage. It could be how to do better landscaping. It could be, renovation ideas, whatever it is, but it's real estate specific.
Mm-hmm.
35% of them are leaning into how to get a better value for their property, how to improve their curb appeal, how to do something to improve their home's value. And then 30%, bearing in mind there's 600 million users on ChatGPT,
Yeah.
30% of them are looking for an agent to buy or sell a home with. It's a massive, massive, massive market. And it's accelerated quicker than any other search engine on the planet, apart from Google, in the history of we've had this technology. It's
Mm-hmm.
huge. It's tremendously huge.
Yeah, and that's an in my mind, Ryan, that's an and, which is it's not like people are leaving Google to go to ChatGPT, but it feels like it's they're using Google and then they're saying, I got to go a bit deeper. I think
Yep.
that's certainly the way that I think many of us on today's call probably use AI is that
Mhm.
we may start with Google, but we kind of end with AI, or vice versa. AI made my recommendation, we might sort of fact check it through Google. So they are working in concert together as opposed to say being in opposition of one another.
Exactly. Yeah. And now we're going to tie everything together. This is everything. So if you want to take a screenshot of the slide, obviously we're going to circulate this round, but this is the exact framework from step 1 to step 3. This is what you're going to need to do. So the framework is awareness, authority, speciality, and credibility. The awareness is all of the profiles, Fast Expert, Rate My Agent, and the big list we're going to share after the webinar. Then you build your on-site authority by producing content, living in, moving to, what are the average costs? Which neighborhood is better than this neighborhood? Then you show off the types of properties, the prices of those properties, the home type, the price below, and then the home width, pools, whatever it might be. Without these three things, you cannot get the credibility to generate leads. So form fills, SEO leads, and ChatGPT leads. They all need to work together. Step 1 doesn't work if step 3 doesn't happen, and step 3 doesn't work if step 2 doesn't happen. And the
Mhm.
best thing about this is you control it. It's your site. So you can get going on this immediately.
Yeah, just maybe double clicking a little bit on the authority and speciality. So what I'm hearing you say is, and let me recap this so we are all aligned on this. We have to first establish, call it our online profile, so that can effectively be easily found by AI. That's the
Mhm.
awareness step. That's using the framework we mentioned earlier. But that in itself is not enough. Next, we have to ensure that we're producing content that lives on our websites, that is living in, moving to, average cost, town versus town, neighborhood specific. That then goes one degree more specific, which is focusing on speciality, which is the single family homes versus maybe new constructions, homes with pools versus maybe homes with an add-on unit, homes below a certain price point or homes between a certain price point. That content strategy you're describing here, you're
Mhm.
saying that is an essential part paired with the awareness strategy that then creates the actual discoverability and the leads. Am I like putting this all together for us?
Yeah, crushed it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
And Betty wants to know, does the blog help with authority?
It does. Yes. The right
Okay.
content strategy on your blog, it makes a tremendous difference.
Should these articles that are being produced to support the AI strategy, should they be blogs, pages, or it doesn't matter when it gets down to the details?
So the authority section, that would be blog. I would recommend blog. And if you want to talk about like the kind of specialities that you have, I would always recommend that you have them as kind of standalone. I just call them landers, like different pages, because
Hmm.
it allows Google and AI to figure out the differences really easily.
Got it. Cool. And then in regards to, I know you guys have learned a lot about generating SEO leads.
Mm.
What would be your advice? And maybe I'm jumping ahead here, guys, so just cut me off if I am, but I would love, there's something you guys do with ghost leads, which I think is so insanely smart.
It's the next slide. It's
And
as if we prepped Jimmy.
Oh, okay. All right. There it is. Okay. So just
Yeah.
walk us through because I think everyone who's watching right now goes, okay, cool. I'm all in. I want to add my stuff to content or to these profiles so I can basically rank in AI. I'm committed. I can use AI whether I'm doing myself or hiring somebody. I'm going to create a ton of content. At the end of the day, for this to work, I've got to get leads.
Mhm.
I've got to have new opportunities. And I know everyone on today's call understands this concept, which is right now your SOI is not a safety net, it's a crutch. And our ability, whether it's through email or social or texting or direct mail or SEO, our ability to generate new customers is dictates the health and sort of the livelihood of our businesses. So we got to be really good at getting new customers. So just talk through this concept because I
Yeah.
think this is, by the way, no one's doing this.
Yeah.
This is crazy. No one's doing this. This is such a good idea that I'm going to tell people it was my idea. So just talk through this one a bit more for everyone because I want everyone to understand what you guys are doing with Ghost Leads.
Yeah, absolutely. So with SEO, right? What's the end zone with SEO? The goal is organic leads. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Like Jimmy said, I need this to work now. Well, in SEO, it's never going to work now. So if you think that, don't invest in SEO. Like it is definitely the long play, right? It's the long strategy. So if you have 100 clicks to your website, you can assume 1%, maybe 2% will fill out a form to become
Mm-hmm.
an organic lead. So 1 or 2 leads for every 100 clicks to the site. So low quantity, but it's high quality lead. That's not good enough for us at FlyDragon. So one of the things we did is we incorporated what we call ghost leads. It's just your anonymous website traffic. So, okay, so you get 1 or 2 organic leads for every visit, 100 visits. What about the other 98 or 99 people who clicked on my website from Google or AI, and then they
Mm-hmm.
bounced off the site? They didn't fill out the form. So we have third-party data sources. It's device fingerprinting or IP address that will tell us who came to the website. It's not 100%. Maybe you get 30% you can identify. That's still a healthy number of people that you didn't know came to your website. So you're getting name, you're getting address, you're getting email address, and phone numbers in some instances. And so since the beginning of this year, we've generated almost 2,000 ghost leads for our FlyDragon clients. And one of them in Las Vegas, Jasmine, I think we passed what, Ryan, like maybe 150 in the first couple of days.
We did, yeah.
An insane
Yeah.
number. Like she has a lot of website traffic, right? So she's doing a lot of right things, but she's looking for more. She wants to identify who's coming to her site. And so she did the homework after we passed these leads and came back and said, this is great. 70% of them are homeowners. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a great crop of listing leads for her via the ghost leads, the anonymous website traffic that's come to your site. Like Jimmy said, no SEO agency has incorporated this. I think it's a huge missed opportunity. It's a mistake just to think that the only goal with SEO or AI search is organic leads.
Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, just so I'm understanding this, if somebody comes to the website and they do not fill their information out, which is call it 95+% of people, really probably close to
Yeah, probably like
99% of
99.
people.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I want you to go a little bit deeper, just in case people want to do this for themselves.
Yeah.
You can essentially enrich that anonymous information, get their name, get their address, get their phone number, get their email. Obviously, if you're going to call them, you should probably get to
DNC.
DNC,
Yeah.
right? I would probably, if my advice to you as your coach here today, I would probably tell you not to call them or email them. I think a direct mail letter would probably be the best initial touch point with one of these folks. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
And by the way, the direct mail letter I would send, the one that I know works insanely well, there's two that I would use. I would use the ZMA, which is essentially printing out their Zillow's estimate and putting a sticky note saying, hey, would you sell your house for 10% more than this? Call me. That one letter converts at such a ridiculously higher rate.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one I'd probably do would be a magic buyer letter. If you follow me on Instagram, I covered both those campaigns. So Tim, if they're doing that, 2 questions. Can that information sync to their CRM? So they're not having to log into some random database to get this information. So that's number one. Because all the team leaders on today's call, they want to get their agents more leads, but they don't want to spend $20 a lead,
Sure.
to be clear,
Yeah.
knowing that the agents are probably not going to call them. So they're like, hey, I'm cool getting more leads, but I don't want to spend a fortune on them. So number one, syncing to the CRM. And number two, just maybe walk us through. I know you guys do this, but let's give away our sort of secret sauce here. How would someone do this themselves if they wanted to basically enrich their website with ghost leads?
Yeah. So number one, so these 1,800 leads have gone to the CRM of our client's choice. Doesn't matter which CRM that you're using, we can pass ghost leads to any of them. And it's tagged appropriately. So you know which one's an organic lead versus a ghost lead. Two entirely different follow-up strategies, right? The organic lead wants the phone call.
Yeah.
The ghost lead doesn't know that you've identified who they are. So yeah, be prudent with it. If you're in Canada, right? Castle rules, it's opt-in. This is probably not a good market for it. If you're in the US, With canned spam, it's opt out, meaning if you are
Yeah.
emailing the ghost leads, make sure you have, and if you're using any technology, it'll have it, the unsubscribe options, scrub against the NC. But direct mail, 100% would be, a great channel. Retargeting, online retargeting as well. The second question, how do you do this yourself? So there are third-party data sources out there. And it sounds like we're going to give away a ton today. So we got the deck, the recording, the list of businesses. We'll tell you the data party sources that we're using for our clients. And you could do this yourself. If you're not interested in, FlyDragon doing this for you, this being SEO and AI search, we'll just tell you how to do it yourself and arm you to be capable to do it.
Yeah, I think let me first off, I'm glad we have a chance to do this webinar now for my audience and my community because, like I said, like I opened up today's session, we'll stick around for some questions here for both Ryan and Tim. But at a high level, I think as you point up this next slide here, Tim, just like why this matters right now is that there is going to be a land grab. There's going to be a massive AI land grab right now, just like there was with Google Business Profile, just like there was with Zillow, just like there was with Google PPC, just like there was with Facebook or Meta ads. There is going to be a massive land grab. And we all know whoever is early is going to win. And so that's why we're doing this right now. This is why this matters. Secondly, to Ryan's point, the buyers and sellers have already adjusted, but the agents haven't. Which is the buyers and sellers are already using AI to find their answers to real estate questions, but the marketing that we're doing to appear hasn't quite adjusted. So that tells me there's like this sort of like displacement, if you will, this opportunity that exists, which I love. And number three, even if you don't hire the guys over at FlyDragon to do this, SEO has never become more accessible, which is to say that, Ryan, you know this because you've worked and managed agencies in the past, right? You know this to be true. Like creating content, researching content, identifying keywords, finding different places to put, where your site's going to exist. I mean, there's a ton of work involved in that. And thankfully, AI has made that a lot more economical for the everyday person. But I know for a fact, even after we've gone through this, because we've had over 1,500 agents register for today's session, I know for a fact that there are agents on today's call who just want to hire you guys. So if you could just give us a sense, guys, and if for the agent who's watching who loves this idea, they want to take advantage of AI, they want to start creating content for their website, they want to start ranking, they want to start getting ghost leads, but they literally saying, I do not have any time to do any of this stuff. What would be the best way for them to get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, I'll drop my Calendly link in the chat. If you go to goflydragon.com, it's there as well. But let's set up a call. That's the best approach. We've got 4 different packages. They range from $299 a month all the way to $4,999 per month, basically $5,000 per month. All the features. You got content, you got backlinks, right? You got all the sexy stuff that gets included with SEO. The only difference across all of those 4 tiers is just how fast you want us to go. How fast do you want to accelerate results? And so we did set up a call, learn a bit more about your business, about your budget, about your timeline, the current status of your website. All platforms, none of them are created equal. They're all different. And we take a look at your domain authority and your rating. Like, hey, do you have a solid foundation? Or, hey, you got no traffic. Don't expect organic leads this month or next month or the month after. Like there's a lot of work that needs to be done. In some cases, you've got the traffic. You're just doing a poor job at converting it. In that case, you need our help. What's called conversion rate optimization. We just, basically make sure the forms are in the right spot and the traffic you're getting is converting. And if it's not, well, you're still getting it as a ghost lead. So basically you have 3 options, right? Option 1's not an option. Like I don't want to work the leads anyway. I don't really work in real estate, but that's there if you do nothing. Option 2, take everything that we're going to send you after today's call, the recording, the deck, the resources, and implement it because it works. And we've showed you it works for me, basically a fake business with newer agents all the way through, Spiker Group, billion in sales. Or there's option 3 where we can do it for you. And I'll drop that link in the chat next.
Yeah. And I think we'll jump into some questions here and stick around because we have a ton of questions that float in that we didn't have a chance to dive into. I think ultimately, The reason I'm excited about what you guys are doing over at FlyDragon, even though I'm not a co-founder or an investor in the business, I'm a big supporter of it. And the real reason behind it is I think most SEO solutions today start at 2,500 bucks a month. They're largely inaccessible for most people. And where you guys obviously do have some ultra premium solutions, you've got some really accessible options, which I personally love, given the fact that if you're spending thousands of dollars on advertising right now, if you're like the everyday agent, and you're spending 500 bucks or 1,000 bucks on advertising, you should be able to look at different ways to diversify that. So I'm just a huge fan of the idea of being able to put yourself in a position where, yeah, you got two tiers that are under 2,000 or three tiers under 2,000, which is
Yeah.
again where most SEO just even starts for that matter. So on that note, and by the way, to be clear, anybody who wants to do it themselves, Tim and Ryan are open books. They're going to give you the resources. They're going to give you the slides. They're going to give you the blueprint. They're going to give you everything that you need to do. So if you've got the resources and the team to do it, go for it by all means. I mean, there's never been a better time to be to be doing this type of stuff. I know, but for many people who are watching right now, they're just like, I just rather someone who actually knows how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Tim, there's a Facebook group you guys have as well. You want to mention that?
Yeah, I'm going to mention it real quick. So yeah, book the call if you're interested. Would love to chat with all of you, all 670 of you. But if you're not interested in us doing the work for you, I still want to invite you all to the AI Powered Agents Facebook group. This is a brand new group. We only have 100 agents in here, but Ryan and myself are sharing everything that we learn. And we're all learning. This is all happening really, really fast. We're learning and we're sharing videos. We just want to basically help agents become superstars with AI. So if you're interested, you want to get really savvy with this stuff, join this Facebook group. I'll drop the link now.
Yeah, love it. All right. So Molly's first question is there, hey, Molly, good to see you on the call. Molly's a rock star. Is there a way to take over a new area or town that you don't currently have sales and revenue in? So let's say, Ryan, I live in Auburn, New Hampshire. I split my time between Auburn and Boston. And really, I spend my time between Auburn, Boston, and Delta at this stage. But so let's say I wanted to expand in Bedford, but I'm Susan Tillery. I've been selling for 20 years in the same area, but I want to be able to expand into a new area. What would be your advice for someone who doesn't necessarily have the credibility or experience, but wants to be able to carve out their own niche in a new area?
The best piece of advice I would give you is, and we do this for people that we work with, is if you want to expand into a market but you don't potentially have the experience there, is start with content around that market. So the kind of ins and outs, you might know the area really well, but you don't operate in the area. So you can still give good local advice about, different towns, different neighborhoods, different price points, whatever it might be. So the blog content is going to play a big role in that. The second part is if you don't have the page on your website, Google nor AI can find it. So you need to create whichever market you want to expand into and use the framework we kind of gave. So if it was, homes for sale in Upton, like Tim is, and you've got your IDX there and you've got some information about Upton, but you want to do Upton and 10 other locations, it's as simple as creating the page, you have the content to support it through blogs, and you do all of the profile stuff that we spoke about.
Okay, so let me dig a little bit deeper on the content side because this is a question that came up earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't see your name. There's a ton of comments in the chat, but around you guys have produced, at this point, thousands of articles every month on behalf of your customers, and you guys have tried probably every tool under the sun, built your own tools, right? Experiment with everything. What would be your advice if you're someone who's using AI to create content? So now because clearly no one's going to write these blogs manually. So Brian, what would be your advice around maybe little lessons you've learned around scaling content using AI that you could share with the audience?
The biggest thing is that the template for the areas doesn't really change. So the questions are going to be the same for Boston as they're going to be for Florida. People are asking, how do I move to? What's it like living in? What are the costs for being here? So not only are people asking the same questions, but the pages are basically structured in the same manner. So that would be the first thing, like spot the patterns between what people are searching. The second thing is that prompts matter more than anything else when it comes to AI content. Like if your prompt is anything under 500 words, 600 words, you're doing it wrong. So the more granular you can be with the ChatGPT prompt, the more specific you can be, the way you can control the guardrails, that's going to make a big difference.
When you say guardrails, you mean so it doesn't hallucinate and give you fake information?
Exactly. Yep.
So what do you say, like what would be, just to double click on that for a second, what do you say to prevent it from hallucinating? Because that's one thing, actually, by the way, I think everyone in the chat right now is probably like a little fearful of, which
Hmm.
is they're like, hey, I want to use AI to create content. Maybe they're like, hey, love what you guys are doing, not in the budget for me right now. I want DIY. I'll hire you guys eventually. But
Hmm.
they want to create content using ChatGPT. They do it for the first time, or Perplexity, and then right away they realize it's a huge mistake. Right? Maybe they're pulling old data, or they're sourcing something that's just not relevant.
Hmm.
What is your advice as it relates to? Is there a specific phrase you use in the prompt or a tactic you use to minimize hallucinations so you don't spend all your time editing articles?
Yeah. So the big secret is doing there's a little bit of work you can do before you get the content to produce. So I use a function called deep research, which is baked into ChatGPT, the $20 a month version. And
Yeah,
let's just say I want to grab market trend data for Upton, Massachusetts. I'm going to
yeah.
let ChatGPT go and do all of the heavy lifting for me, make sure it's up to date, grab the right sources, and then I'm going to feed that into my next prompt. And I'm going to say, when you write this piece of content around up to Massachusetts, only use this data. And then I'm going to feed in my deep research data so it cannot hallucinate. It cannot go anywhere else.
Mm, So you're using AI to get the information and then to build the prompt that you're then feeding into AI to then create.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you find that open? And I'm going to listen, we have 500 plus people on this call, plus we'll have thousands watch the recording. So I'm going to steal all of your secrets. I want people to hire you. Okay. I want people to hire you, but I also want to make sure people who don't have the budget for it, or maybe have some resources,
Yeah,
can still take away a ton of insight here, and by the way, Tim, do me a favor, because we got a couple questions coming in. Can you drop the link to your Calendly link?
it's in there.
So
It's at the bottom.
everyone, okay, cool. So yeah, if you want to pin that, that'd be great. So have you found, because right now everyone who's watching has the option between Perplexity,
Mhm.
Claude, Grok, Gemini, obviously Open ChatGPT. Um, do you find that one of these platforms is better at actually writing blogs, or are you finding yourself having to use different AIs for different use cases?
Yeah. So I've tried them all. And so the best for deep research, as in it hallucinates far less and it grabs. So not only do you want it to grab data from Google, but you want it to grab from things like YouTube and TikTok and Reddit, because that gives you unique perspectives on content, which makes your content better. So Grok 3, bar none, is
Hmm.
the best for deep research. It's faster, it's more detailed. So they've got deep research, but they've also got extended deep research. That's what I would use.
Yeah.
So you can grab that information, and the best for producing content, ChatGPT, and either the O3 model is up there, or the O1 Pro model. So you do have to kind of fork out the $200 a month to access that, but it is
Yeah.
unequivocally the best.
So you're saying right now Grok 3, because of its access to real-time data from X,
Yep.
is actually the best for getting research, and you're saying that O3 is the
Hmm.
best for writing.
Yep. 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 I
Okay.
combine the
Yeah.
two, and that is like the strongest article you could produce.
Yeah, I hope everyone's taking notes right now, because I think these guys have literally tested everything and written thousands of articles. And I think many of us right now who create content, we tend to just sort of like go to whatever one we use the most often, which might be 4.0 on ChatGPT, and we're like kind of like a little bit say disappointed by that. Joe asks, if we hire you, do we get the benefit of all these tools? Just to clarify, Joe, do you mean? I want to clarify the question. Are they using these tools on your behalf? I'm assuming that's what you're actually asking. Yeah. Okay. So
Mhm.
Joe wants to know, because you guys are obviously creating content for people
Yeah,
that's helping them rank in the search engines, which helping them generate ghost leads and organic leads. Are these are the tools that you guys are using internally?
that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, we are. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any SEO tool that you use on behalf of your clients that you're like, this thing's just a showstopper? It may be a couple $100 a month or $1,000 a month, but you're like, this thing is like, if let's say someone's watching right now, they're like, I really want to take full advantage of this, but I gotta sort of level up my tools. What do you guys use internally for tooling that helps you guys scale?
Ryan, I'll let you go
If it's
first.
for Yeah, if it's for SEO specifically, and we shared this with another group a couple of weeks ago, and they do have like a much cheaper entry plan, so it's not too prohibitive. It's a tool called, and Tim, you might have to type this because of my
Yeah.
British accent is going to butcher it. Ahrefs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
you've heard of Ahrefs before, Jimmy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I call it AREFs, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's but
Close.
who knows how to pronounce this. So you use this tool specifically for what reason?
So we use this for a couple of reasons. One, we want to understand how much opportunity we have for a search term, how
Okay.
difficult it's going to be for us to compete in that market. And
Yeah.
for the people that come and work with us, we understand how far away they are from, being a brand new authority in a market versus the person that owns that market. What does that gap look like? So it enables us to kind of do that competitor research pretty quickly.
This would be my advice, Tim. Well, actually, Tim, go ahead and you want to talk
Yep.
about the neuron writer?
Neuron writer. So, and Jimmy, we're happy to come back and do a session just on content. We did this with the Conversion Club, and it was they loved it. So it basically giving you all the tools to not only create content with AI, but making content that Google and AI loves. So we welcome that
Yeah.
opportunity. But neuron writer. So let's say you've done the keyword research, you used Ahrefs, you've written a piece of content because you prompted chat to write it. Then throw that into before you post it or hit publish on your website. Throw it into neuron writer and it will look at, let's say the keyword you wanted to rank for was, reasons to move to Upton. It will show me the top 10 results on Google today. It will basically cross-analyze all of the content, say you're missing these keywords, or you have too much of this word in this article, length's too short. Hey, even recommending the title, the page title name, the H1, the H2, the H3s. So you'll take a piece of content from maybe you think it's 100%. It's more like a 2 out of 10. Run it through Neuron, you
Hmm.
become a 10 out of 10. You stand a fighting chance to get that page ranking on the first page of Google. That's what I
Yeah,
did for
that's
my
super.
for my real estate website. Again, it's like a real business, but it's not a business, and it's ranking. I'm not experienced. It's a new domain. I'm proof that any agent can do this because I'm doing it and I have such small experience when it comes to actually selling real estate.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, I'll call out, and we'll wrap with this. And first off, thank you both for being a part of today's session. I mean, this was awesome. I learned a ton. I know everyone who's part of today's session took some things away. They're going to help them explore this opportunity, whether they want to invest aggressively in AI, which I'm a huge fan of. But even if they're just trying to get themselves
Yeah.
familiar with this idea, this is a great sort of foundational level training. The one thing I'll say is this, and drop in the chat right now, Tim, the link to your calendar. I would schedule a call for one reason. Before you decide whether to invest your own time or your money, is I want you to understand how much opportunity is available in your market. And so Tim and the team can do an analysis to understand how many people are actually searching for homes for sale or should I sell my house in Upton, in Auburn, in your neighborhood. Because what's interesting is that even if that is a few hundred searches per month, that should excite you because the vast majority of people right now are going after these major markets like homes for sale in Houston, homes for sale in Atlanta, homes for sale in New York. But these little smaller markets are actually where they're largely being neglected. So I would schedule a call with the team over FlyDragon just to assess where you're currently at right now, assess how much opportunity is in your market, and that's going to help you make an informed decision. And guys, if you're not part of the Facebook Mastermind group, join that. Tim dropped a link in that a little bit earlier. It was great to have you both on today's session, and we got to have you back to do a session on content marketing. I will keep taking all of your ideas and sharing them with my community. So on that note, thanks, fellas. Appreciate you guys being
Thanks,
on with us
Jimmy.
today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.